Welcome to part 2. First of all, I'm going to let you know I'm going to extend all of these floors out this way, that way. Basically, you would never have a concrete core on the edge of a building like that, I realised that, but don't worry about that for now. Go to part 3 and I'll do that. In this video, we're going to make this into a Revit collaborative model, and I'm going to explain what that is. So if you know how to do that, by all means go for it. You might not even need to watch this video. This is just for those who've never done that before. So I'm just going to quickly explain to you how you currently save. You normally hit save there and you save this model, and that's it. The model is saved. There is another way of working with this model, and that way is good for multiple people working on the same project, so they can all open the same model and work on the same thing. So, I mean, with MicroStation, you have separate models, and they're all referenced into one main model, and someone can work on one model here and another model there, and then they'll save them, and then because they're all referenced into one central model, the central model will see all the changes. Whereas here with the building, you can't really have that. You need to have one model where everyone can work on it. So what Revit can do, is we have one central model saved on a central server or on a cloud, which is something you can do these days. You can have this saved on OneDrive and everyone working in their own little area, part of the world even, and they will all open it, create their own local copy. So basically the Revit will take the central model, download it, create a local model. This person can add things, change things, and all of that stuff, and then hit synchronize, and then it will send all of his changes or her changes up to the central model and download all of their changes back. Download everyone else's changes that have been sent up back to this model, and it gives you an up-to-date model. So the other thing is, let's say I'm editing this particular floor here. The moment I touch that model, Revit will send up a message almost to the central model, and anything I've touched or edited, etc., no one else can edit that now, because obviously if I change something and someone else changes something and then both changes go to the central model, Revit gets confused. Revit doesn't know what to do. We're all confused. So that's where it is also very useful. It thinks about, well, it kind of has to, but it thinks about that and takes that into consideration, so more than one person can't do changes to the same element. So we're going to do that now. You could just continue without doing this, but the reason I want to do it is so that we can use Worksets. You see? So I want to put all of these onto a temporary Workset, and I want to be working on, let me just explain what Workset is. So let's say you have an architect, an engineer, and a MEP person all working on the same model. You can have one Workset for each. So an architect has the architecture model, puts it on the architecture Workset. So he puts all the surfaces and walls and all that stuff. And then an engineer will want to work on the same model using his data to place floors and beams and all that stuff. So the person working on the engineering side will have their own Workset, and they'll put their own beams and things like that in there, and that way the architect can't really affect these ones. And sometimes you'll want the drawing to show some architectural features, or only the structural features, so you can easily turn off the other Worksets. So if I'm confusing you, sorry. I mean, all will be clear in the next few videos. So I'm just going to come up to collaborate here and hit collaborate, and I'm going to say within my network. You can also use BIM 360, but I don't have that and I'm not using it. So that's a whole separate thing. Just say within your network. So this is for servers and cloud-based companies. So okay, and there you go, that's done. Now I hit save, say yes, And now you can see that the save button is gone and I have a synchronize button. I mean, the save button is still here. So if I change this, oh, okay, maybe not. I thought I could save a local model. Anyway, so what synchronize will do is it will send up all my changes to the central model and download all the changes from everyone else into my send all my changes there. Yeah, and then download all changes, including mine and everyone else's, down to my model. Cool. So I'm going to show you now how to open the drawing. It's slightly different to a normal drawing that's saved on your local copy. So I'm going to close this. I'm going to say open. Now, this right here is where I save my drawing, and you can see that there's an option, create new local, or I can detach from central. Now, detach from central means you can have your own separate model that's not affecting this one, not synchronizing. But don't worry about that for now. What you'll do is you'll say create new local. So this is where I've saved it. So in that location, click it, say open. Now, if I go to my documents, you can see I have that model. Let's just get this side by side. I have that model, and this is the central model here, but that's mine. That's why it's got my email address there. Don't send me any prank emails. Yeah, that's all I can really say on that. So now, when I work on the model, I'm working on this one, and what my model does when I hit synchronize is it sends all the changes in here, copies them up to this one, and everyone else that has done that does that too, copies all the changed elements in, and then it, after doing that, after sending it up, it downloads all the changes from everyone. I mean, no one else might, if no one else is working on it, fine, it will only re-download what I've done. But yeah, it will update this. So to find out where your local copy will be stored, you can go to File, New, Options, File Locations, and this is where it will save it. Yep. Cool. And that's exactly where that is. Right, so I'm trying to think, is there anything else you need to know? No. Well, the save button's still here. So what that means is if I save, it will only save my local copy. And so I can do tons of changes, and this model won't change at all. So the moment I hit synchronize, so if I hit save, it will save this one. If I hit synchronize, it will send them up here. Now everyone who has access to this can see all the changes. So basically, one last thing I want you to do. I'm going to show you how to do this. If I want a copy of this that won't affect this, let's say I want to test something out, and this is what I do to change the parts. So as you can, change the parts, that doesn't make sense. I have a part 1 tutorial where I've got the ending of part 1 there. I've got a part 2 where there's nothing there right now, but I can't really move this in there or copy it in there that like as simply as that. What I have to do is I have to detach the model from here and put it in there so that it's not affected by changes. If I just copied it directly I think what would happen is this would take the changes and the model in there would also take the changes. I don't want that. So to do that, I say File, to create a separate one from the same model, I say File, Open Project. That's it there. I say Detach, as I mentioned earlier, Open. You can preserve the worksets or detach the worksets. I'm going to say preserve. Generally you should do that, because the worksets may have been used for certain things like filters, etc, etc. Oh no. Okay, I have to close this one first. Always pick relinquish worksets and elements, because what that means is you no longer have they're no longer locked to you, and someone else can edit those things. So open Crane Grillage, detach from central, open, detach and preserve. So now I'll save it in part 2 as part 2. And so now I'll close it, open it, part 2. Detach from central. So it's its own central model, but I want to make it non-collaborative. So I'll say save as, project, options, make this its own. Oh, there you go, make central model after this save. Close it, open. Well, it's fine. I mean, there is a way to do it. I just need to work it out. But I'm going to open this one. Whoops. Also, when I go up to the central model, I say create new local, it will ask me if I want to overwrite the existing one. Just say yes. That means the local model needs to be deleted first, or it will just overwrite it, whatever. Now, one of the advantages to this is I can set everything to a certain work set. As I mentioned before, you know what? I think it's better if I do that in the following videos, so that you better understand how work sets work, because if I just explain it to you, there's no real point. Also, the people that have skipped this video need to see what I've put on which work set. So, stay tuned and see you in part 3.